Now, Biden is visiting the border this weekend. He has no plans to deal with any of this, but it will affect us. How could it not? Retired U.S. Army Colonel Doug Macgregor has been following this for months now. He joins us tonight. Doug, thanks so much for coming on. It would seem if a war breaks out in a country with whom you share this enormously long border that there would be coverage of it. There hasn't been. Why?
Well, we're lucky to get this glimpse. The media simply doesn't bother to cover it. But we really need to understand what this war is about. In 2020, we arrested the Mexican Minister of Defense, a general named Cienfuegos, in California, on charges associated with drug trafficking, human trafficking, and a whole list of crimes. Ultimately, we turned him over to the president of Mexico, President Obrador, who promptly released him, and we dropped the charges. Now, one of the reasons we dropped the charges is that we were promised more cooperation, but it hasn't been forthcoming. And so what we're really seeing here is not an effort to enforce the law, not an effort to do anything good. It's a fight between a cartel, the Sinaloa cartel, and the Mexican army. They're fighting for turf, they're fighting for cash, they're fighting for influence inside Mexico. They want the son of El Chapo's, presumably, so they can give it to the president of Mexico, and he can create the illusion that by turning him over to us, that there is cooperation with Mexico. Tucker, there's no cooperation with Mexico. And President Obrador is irrelevant. He does not run the country. He's a mouthpiece for the drug cartels.
So if the president of Mexico is a mouthpiece for the drug cartels, and the government of Mexico has allowed millions of foreign nationals to stream over its territory into our country, sure, along with fentanyl that's killed hundreds of thousands of people in this country, why is Mexico not our main enemy?
Well, that's a good point, because Mexico right now, and Central America writ large, because of the criminality, is an existential threat to us. It's the only truly existential threat to the country. And remember, they reach into the United States. All of your major cities, there are networks there that reach back into Mexico. That's why they're powerful, and that's a war that'll eventually have to be fought, because at some point we will shut down the border, because things will have gotten that bad. When we do that, we will immediately be at war with the drug cartels, because we've cut off their income. And we're going to have to fight inside the United States as well as on our border. And that's going to demand the United States Army, because our Border Patrol is not nearly as well equipped. They're outgunned, outperformed in every sense, every category of military power by the cartels. What you saw is a good demonstration of just how powerful those cartels are.
So you're saying we could see scenes like this in our country?
Absolutely. It's inevitable.
So the last time a president suggested deploying the U.S. military to the border, the Pentagon scoffed at him. I think unconstitutionally, yeah. But they did. Do you think the Pentagon would be willing to fight the drug cartels? They seem to have they issue their own orders at this point, it seems.
Well, the fact that you're raising the question is a sad and tragic comment on the state of civil-military relations, that we have people at the top of the military establishment who pick and choose from a menu of tasks and decide what they will or won't do, presumably because there's lots of money in the Ukraine war, and there's not money for them in the Mexican war. And bear in mind that Ukraine and Mexico are just about equally corrupt. The difference is that right now they're killing more people in Ukraine, but the murder rate in Mexico is one of the highest in the world, about 136 out of every 100,000. So it leads most of the world in murder. So it's not that far off. It wouldn't take much to catch up with Ukraine. But as you point out, Ukraine means a lot of money for a lot of people in Washington. Shutting down the border, stopping the influx of illegals, stopping the human trafficking, and going after the drug cartels doesn't really make anybody money.
Just last question, not to be pedantic, but doesn't ignoring or disobeying an order from a president, doesn't that constitute a felony? Isn't that a crime? They're not allowed to do that, are they?
Yes, it is essentially on par with a criminal act. But you've got a chairman who decided to call the leadership of the Chinese military and tell them that, don't worry, if we attack you, we'll let you know in advance.
Why didn't he go to jail for that?
Why is he still holding his office? Why is he still a four-star general? I mean, he's not alone. When's the last time we held anybody in the military accountable for anything?